Racewatch 12 with Cade Heidemann is brought to you by Builder's Service.
I talk as frequently as I can about changes being made ahead of 2027 when it pertains to driver or team movement, but what usually slips through the cracks is changes in the schedule. This past month has proven to be a big one for shaping the outlook for all three series in 2027, so let's recap all of what we know about next year. For the Cup Series, one of its biggest headlines was their decision on what race to run in the Chicago area, as the city had expressed interest in bringing back its street course after NASCAR had dropped it in favor of San Diego. While NASCAR had shared similar interest, their consolation of running their first race at Chicagoland Speedway in 7 years had proven successful too. So successful that NASCAR has made the call to continue running at Joliet for 2027 and beyond. While the exact reason for opting out of the street course wasn't given, it came as a surprise to many, since NASCAR themselves had made efforts to temper expectations about a second year at San Diego, meaning as of now, the only street course date on the NASCAR schedule is a second year in St. Petersburg for the Truck Series. Speaking of the trucks, they have been by far making the most interesting moves, one of those being a confirmed return to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, the road course race that was exclusive to the trucks and ran from 2013 to 2019, then was cancelled as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. It will hold its date at a lucrative spot in the season too, serving as the Truck Series regular season finale. This was likely not on the mind of current year truckers though, as their focus was on this year's regular season finale held this past weekend at New Hampshire. Lane Riggs led the field to green, but they won't even get through turn 1 before the first yellow flies. This is for a big checkup that would end with Luke Baldwin taking some massive damage to the front of his truck. A heartbreaker for sure, as he did not qualify for this race initially. He made the field thanks to teammate Frankie Muniz stepping aside to let Baldwin gain that valuable seat time. Back up front, Lane Riggs' lead got contested by someone who we don't see in a truck every week. It's Connor Zilisch making a start for Spire, and he's making the most of the opportunity here, getting around the 34 and maintaining the lead all the way to the conclusion of Stage 1. Zilisch wasn't done there either. He kept the momentum going and held off both front row trucks en route to a stage sweep. This event wasn't just about the battle for the lead though. The race in New Hampshire, being the Truck Series regular season finale, bore witness to a three-way battle over the final chase spot. Stuart Friesen held it down by opting to pit early. Jay Garcia was held down by a bad pit stop, and Tyler Ankrum was in the back half all day suffering issues to his brakes. Eventually, Friesen having worse tires was starting to be his undoing, as the fall-off was costing him spots that Garcia and Ankrum were simultaneously gaining. This wouldn't be settled under green though. One brutal wreck for Gavin Boschel and a second for Gio Ruggiero would send a lot of drivers down pit road, excluding Friesen, Garcia, and Ankrum. This move benefited Ankrum the best, who came into this race with points over the 52 and 98 already. Those spots gained for Ankrum would secure his spot in the chase, while Lane Riggs would pilot the 34 to win number 6 off triple overtime. Now let's take a brief detour to Washington, D.C. for the 1.7 mile long street course that played host to IndyCar's America 250. While I don't have time to discuss the IndyCar race at length, I did want to put the spotlight on the preliminary IROC races held on Saturday, featuring NASCAR and IndyCar legends driving authentic IROC race cars in two 10-lap exhibition races. The 8 drivers running here included Cup Series champions Bobby Labonte, Kurt Busch, Rusty Wallace, Bill Elliott, and Jeff Gordon, plus Indy 500 champions Tony Kanaan and Helio Castroneves, and IMSA champion Tommy Kendall. In race 1, Bobby Labonte led the field to green, but would lose the lead early to 70-year-old Bill Elliott. Lap 5, Elliott himself would fall to Castroneves, but Elio himself in the 03 could not get comfortable. The entire time he was out front, Jeff Gordon was hounding him, and on lap 6 the pass was made. Kurt Busch looked to close in on Gordon within the final laps, but couldn't make it happen. Jeff Gordon would win race number 1. Race 2, the deck was stacked against the 24, as the starting lineup would be inverted. Tony Kanaan led the field to green for race number 2 and held that lead for the first half. But look who's right there with him on lap 5. It's Jeff Gordon again. He would pass the entire field and hold that lead to win both IROC races in Washington, D.C. This would be the first time Gordon has won a race in any discipline since his final Cup Series win at Martinsville all the way back in 2015. Back in New Hampshire now with the Cup Series, where the weather had taken a turn for the worse. NASCAR thought they were safe to roll off on wet weather tires, but when Carson Hocevar spun outside turn 4 during pre-race pace laps, NASCAR brought the field in and opted to start the race a little later. After a brief rain delay, racing finally went green on a drier but still damp track. Tyler Reddick led the field to green alongside Josh Berry. Reddick swung the first corner wide and would take the lead down the back, but it all came apart for him in turn 4, where Tyler spun on the exit before the first lap could be completed. William Byron led the field back to green and would hold it using the outside. Byron led for a while, but the first driver to contest that lead would be the driver he started alongside. Shane Van Gisbergen has been a bigger threat on ovals lately, and working on a wet track is something he is uniquely skilled at, being able to leverage his experience over Byron to take the lead. SVG held on up until the competition caution at lap 40 for drivers to switch to slick tires and make adjustments. During this pit cycle, Ross Chastain would take his car to the garage, having suffered a driveline failure which would end his race and erase any hopes he had at a playoff campaign this year. Meanwhile, his teammate Shane Van Gisbergen was fighting hard to keep his season alive. Doesn't matter what tire he's on, Shane was able to maintain that lead on the restart. But another caution for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. would react the field, and this would end up being SVG's downfall, conceding the lead to Kyle Larson and dropping multiple spots. When the green and white flew, it would be Kyle Larson taking 10 points. Stage 2 brought with it catastrophe for Carson Hocevar. He would get turned off the bumper of Connor Zilic and spun. Luckily, his car survived the incident. Meanwhile, up front, Josh Berry had an impressive run throughout Stage 2, leading the most laps at Loudon than the Wood brothers have ever led in the organization's history. Eventually, Berry would fall to Ryan Blaney, who would be able to maintain the lead for the Stage 2 victory. This wasn't going to be the end of Blaney versus Berry at Loudon, but for the time being, Blaney was put back on the stage caution for a botched pit stop, allowing Josh Berry to enjoy more time out front and add on to that lap's led total. Things for Berry came apart right after this terrible looking wreck for Riley Herbst and Connor Zilic. Both drivers were alright thankfully, and this would trigger another pit cycle which saw the 21 come down. This time Berry's crew blundered and sent him back quite a few spots, while Blaney jumped to the lead gambling on a 2-tire stop. Once the green flag flew, there wouldn't be another caution. Josh Berry had the fastest car on track, but being put back so far into the field proved insurmountable. The 21 stalled out once he got to third, and while the 23 of Bubba Wallace almost had a run on the 12, his shot was blown with only a few laps to go when he locked his wheel entering turn 3, allowing Ryan Blaney to run off with win number 3 this year. For Racewatch 12, I'm Cade Heidemann.